And welcome to an absolutely choice edition of QI, which is all about indecision. All in a dither tonight are A, Jimmy Carr, B, Rich Hall, C, Phil Jupiters, or D, none of the above, Alan Davis. Now, your buzzers are designed to help you make up your mind. Jimmy goes...
Turn right, turn right.
Phil goes...
Turn left, turn left.
Rich goes...
Turn round, turn round.
And Alan goes...
Excuse me, sir, is this your vehicle? Are you sure? Will you blow into this bag, please, sir?
And don't forget your nobody knows jokers. Have you got them there?
Nobody knows.
Yes, there is a question to which the answer is nobody knows, and if you can flag it up with your joker, you get extra points. Ooh. Now, why was this tosser thrown out of the magic circle? Tosser is a technical term in this particular...
Was he using real magic?
That's not the reason, but it's a damn good thought, isn't it? Now, what gets you thrown out of the magic circle?
Giving away the secrets.
Yes. You've put your finger on it. This guy, John Lenihan, was thrown out of the magic circle for giving away a particular... A very famous... It's one that basically you just have to buy a book and you know how to do it. As he said, if he'd been a murderer, he would have been let out of prison by now. But he's out of the magic circle for life because he appeared on Des Lynam's How Do They Do That? And revealed one of the classic card scams that is used on the street corners to make money.
Oh, Find the Lady.
Find the Lady, or as they call it in America, three-card Monty.
Yes,
exactly.
because Find the Lady always makes me... I prefer three-card Monty, because Find the Lady had a really bad experience in Thailand once.
Did you feel a bit of a dig? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And they've always got the guy that comes up and goes, oh, this looks pretty good, everyone. I might have a go at this.
You're right, they have their shills.
Yeah.
The guys who say exactly, who put the money down and are paid out, you know, we've given you some money. Have you got it there with you?
Oh, yeah, OK.
I've got some money to pay you out in case you get it right. Here you are. Now, watch the screen. All you have to do is find the lady. So watch, and then... there we go. Okay. There she is.
There she is. Oh, OK.
Keep your eyes on her. Keep your eyes on her. OK. Which is she? You're saying the left?
Yeah, left.
Middle.
Middle? Audience? Yeah, obviously on the left. Let's have a look. Here you are. Of course it's on the left. You just follow it with your eyes. OK, let's have another go. OK, this time we're doing it for money. Now you've got the idea. OK, keep your eyes on the lady. There she is.
OK.
OK, where's she gone?
Right, OK, you three put on a card each, and I will stick this in a lady's knickers in the audience.
That's a whole other game. That's a whole other lady to
There's
find.
a lady put her hand up over there, Steve.
She put her hand up what? Now.
That's the trouble with this game. You always want to see it a second time, but they don't.
Yes, they don't. No. So come on, place your bets.
Right, I'm going to go left anyway.
Left. OK, left. Yep.
I'm going left.
Left.
Right.
Right.
Left.
So 3 lefts and a right. Give him one. What audience? How many think left? Oh, most of you. In middle. How many think middle? Only very few. How many think right? Oh, actually, majority think right. OK, let's show. It is indeed the left.
2 in a row.
That's brilliant. Come on. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Right, that's it. No, I'm getting my real money out now. I'm on a roll. No, that's the time to quit. What?
I ought to explain when talking about John Lenihan, when I called him a tosser, that is the name for the guy who does that trick, is a tosser. It's called tossing. And you can win a lot of money by tossing.
Ah!
What the... somebody thought it was real money. Anyway, interesting. OK.
What the hell was that?
We'll find out, maybe or maybe not. OK, so...
I'm not in on that. I just want you to know.
Anyway, John Lenihan was expelled from the Magic Circle for exposing the secret of Find the Lady on television. Although the real secret is that even if you do choose correctly, someone is actually likely to run off with the money anyway, because that's the way they work. Now for something beginning with I that you wouldn't choose in 100 years. Who expected the Spanish Inquisition?
Was it... No.
We all know, according to Monty Python, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. But in fact, they couldn't have been more wrong.
Was it the Ku Klux Klan? Because those two fellas...
It's true, they did wear the
I'm sorry, I thought that was the Pet Shop Boys.
That's one of their best videos, actually. It's very moody.
The fact is, the Spanish Inquisition always gave you 30 days' notice. They said... They said, we're coming to inquisit you, or whatever verb.
Hello, is that Mr. Rabinowitz? It's the Inquisition here. How are you? Listen, we're going to come round and we're going to pull your balls out through your mouth.
We're in the area.
Yeah.
But only for the next 30 days. Yeah. Take advantage. So they gave you 30 days.
Sound like TV licence ban.
They gave you 30 days to prepare your case and prove that you weren't a heretic.
So we had to wait around the house all day.
Yeah.
Or be there between 8 and 5.
Or get a priest. Yes, exactly. Or say, it's all right, torture my neighbour, I won't be in. He'll take my torture for me. No, it is a surprising thing, perhaps. But the Spanish Inquisition, when was it instituted? Can you
It went on for 350 years.
Give me a century as to when it started.
1483.
I can tell you an interesting...
Bloody hell, that's close. Did you just say 1483?
Yeah.
Is that a guess?
See if I'm right.
It was 1478, but that's, I mean, it's 5 years. That's very close. Well done.
Well,
in
the beginning they called and say we're coming around in 5 years. So in 78...
But you're actually right. It was the Spanish who took it upon themselves to have their own Inquisition. There was a papal Inquisition, but they wanted to take it upon themselves to have their own. It was an anti-Semitic piece of legislation, essentially. It was because they doubted that Jews who had to convert to stay in Spain, they doubted that they actually really meant it. And it was under these rulers of Spain at that time, who were, of course, Ferdinand and Isabella.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's a dog.
You know what, she wouldn't mind you saying that. She would take it on the chin.
Hey!
I went to a museum of torture in Spain.
Did you?
And I thought, I didn't know anything about it, but I imagined that the Spanish Inquisition was an awful few years.
Yeah.
But
it was.
no, it went on for 350 years.
You're
and they
absolutely
had
right.
lots and lots of implements of torture that really...
It was grotesque.
I mean, you can't make it up. But the one that really sticks in my mind is the one where you would be impaled through your anus on a very large pole that would go up your inside, but miss all your vital organs and then come out at your shoulder.
Oh, God.
And so it wouldn't kill you, and then you'd just be there for days. And usually it'd be something public, so you'd be an example. You know, they would forever put hanging people from cages full of spikes from a pole at the entrance to towns.
Well, but the Catholic Church, you won't be surprised to know, still has the Inquisition. It's changed its name over the years. In 1908, it changed the name to the Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office. In 1965, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And the leader under Pope John Paul II was... Who was in charge of it?
Ratzinger?
It was indeed our current Pope.
He was in charge of the Spanish Inquisition, was he?
Not the Spanish
They're
Inquisition.
very good at changing their name, I always think. You know, when people talk about the Roman Empire sort of falling, I don't think they did fall, did they, the Roman Empire? They just became a church. Continued on regardless.
Basically, yeah. Now then, given the choice, what would be the next best thing to having a Nobel Prize winner in our audience tonight?
Dennis Leary had a great joke about the Nobel Peace Prize. He said, the Nobel Peace Prize, I'd kill for one of those.
That's very good. Now, there is a sort of serio-comic version of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, it's the Ig Nobel Awards.
Yes. The Ig Nobel Prize is given to people who usually are genuine scientists who have conducted research, some of which is just a little bit weird. There, for example, we have on our left a woman who invented an emergency bra that could be torn apart and turned into a gas mask. And two gas masks, obviously. And there on the right is the inventor of the Ig Nobel Prize, Mr. Mark Abraham. And I'm proud to say that in our audience we have a winner of the Ig Nobel Prize, Professor Chris McManus. Are you there? There he is. Hey. Now, Professor McManus. They called you in the press the oddball professor. Perhaps you'd like to tell us the reason you won the Ig Nobel Prize.
Well, I got the prize in 2002 for some work that was done half a lifetime earlier in 1976.
Yes.
And the paper was published in the most prestigious of science journals, Nature, and it was called Scrotal Asymmetry in Man and in Ancient Sculpture.
So your work was looking at how male testicles were asymmetrical?
Precisely.
I've got an issue. Well, maybe you could help because you're an expert.
Well, perhaps I should examine you afterwards. It's probably easier.
I think I can explain it. One of mine is bigger than the other two.
Very good. Right. You are actually speaking to purpose, aren't you? Because there are a higher percentage of men who have one ball that hangs lower than the other, and perhaps you'd like to tell us which that is.
That's right. Well, most people have the right one is higher and the left one is lower.
Right.
And that's the normal way round.
Wait a minute.
Which is fine. Yeah, hang on. Phil, it's okay.
I've got two on the left, is that There's nothing on the right at all.
Right. But the surprising thing is that in ancient and indeed Renaissance sculpture, you found...
Well, if you look at Michelangelo's David or any of these great sculptures, the right one is higher and the left one is lower and it's bigger.
Yes,
which makes sense if you think about it.
Why does that make sense?
Well, you'd expect the heavier one to go lower.
Yes, right. Oh, I see.
Okay?
But it's against what is...
The trouble is, it ain't that way. When you get home later, you'll find that...
Oh, no need, man!
The higher one is also the bigger one.
So
the Greeks got it wrong. That was where it got interesting.
But that's odd, because they had bodies. Is it because the Greek sculptors used mirrors and used their own equipment and therefore got it the wrong way round, or was there some other reason?
I think probably their real problem is that they had a theory, and there's nothing more dangerous than a theory that's wrong.
Yes.
And they actually didn't know what the testicles were for. This seems a bit strange, but they hadn't quite worked it out.
Mine are purely decorative.
So what was the Greek theory?
Well, Aristotle had this charming theory that little boys have tiny little testicles and very high voices. But as you get bigger, and you go into puberty, the testicles get bigger, they pull down, and they tension the body, and the voice gets deeper.
Oh.
So they thought there were weights to tension the male body.
And is that not the case?
Which is why Barry White never did a marathon.
So for that, though, you won the Ig Nobel Prize. And is that something you're proud of?
It's something I can't deny, put it that way.
Right. But it doesn't go to stupid people, it does go to genuine scientists.
At the end of the Nobel Prizes, Mark Abrams always sends his consolations to those who haven't won it, and particularly to those who have.
I also believe that you're expected to make an acceptance speech.
I did.
And it's traditional for the acceptance speech to be interrupted by a young girl who shouts, "Please stop it, I'm bored." Is that correct?
Yes. Mark has the problem that the Oscars and all other award ceremonies have, that everybody talks too long and thanks everybody.
Yeah.
So he came up with this device called Little Miss Sweetie Poo, who's a charming 8-year-old girl, and after precisely 60 seconds, she walks across the stage and says, "Please stop, I'm bored. Please stop, I'm bored. Please stop, I'm bored." And they do.
It's a brilliant idea, and indeed you had your own daughters did that job, I believe.
Well, at the show in London, I have identical twin daughters, and so we have both of them doing, like, "Please stop, I'm bored, please stop, I'm bored."
Is not one of them slightly bigger than the other? Maybe a little shorter?
Okay.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, Professor McManus, thank you very much indeed, and congratulations.
Quite interesting.
That is quite interesting, isn't it? Anyway, the next best thing to winning a Nobel Prize is winning an Ig Nobel Prize. First they make you laugh, and then they make you think. Now, here's a tricky decision. Which is more mammally, a mouse or a hippopotamus?
More mammally.
Right. Yeah. So is this which one has got more breasts? Because that mammal is...
It's about the way we decide, because indecision is our theme today. It's that if you give people tests about categories, and you show them certain kinds of items that fit a category. Say you're doing the fruit category, and you show them an apple and a pear, they'll instantly go fruit. But show them a fig and a raisin, they'll take a bit longer. Show them a pumpkin and an olive, they'll take a lot longer, because are they fruits? And it's the same with mammals. People will instantly say a mouse is a mammal. The hippopotamus, they'll go, oh, it's sort of wet and slimy. Oh, of course it's a mammal. It just takes that bit longer.
I think if I was to stage an all-mouse production of West Side Story... Da-da-da-da-da. It's true!
The way this is set up, though, does look like the hippo's sort of sneaking up on the mouse.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Couldn't we Photoshop a Rizzler in that mouse?
Should I be really sort of nerdily myself now and say that really you shouldn't say Rizzler? Do you know what you should say?
What should you say, Stephen?
Well, it's French, and riz is the French for rice.
Yeah.
And the company that makes it is La Croix. And you may notice, if you see a Rizzler packet, sometimes you might have torn the top part off.
Why, Stephen?
For some reason you might need a spare piece of cardboard.
Yeah, just to jot.
Yeah, exactly.
Drop the number
jot
down.
down someone's email address, exactly.
Know, yeah.
So, but you'll notice it says riz la, i.e. Rizzler, we think, and then there's a big cross. And the company is La Croix, which is the cross. And it's rice, the cross. It's rice paper made by the cross. La Croix. La Croix is the name of the company.
Stephen, when I get to Glastonbury, I'm going to be talking about that for 9 hours. Look there, right? Look. Cross. Look. Know where the cross was. It's Fred. I tore that bit off.
Well,
I'd like a fajita.
Anyway, I can see I'm boring you. Here I am.
Not until we get an 8-year-old girl running in front of you telling you. There you are.
Bring on the twins.
One way to tell if something's a mammal is to check whether it has nipples, which reminds me a piece of I for Irishness. What do you call an Irishman with no nipples? That's Richard Harris, of course.
In A Man Called Horse.
A Man Called Horse.
It's a great movie, isn't it?
Things.
It seemed extreme when I first saw that, but now there's guys in Camden Town that have that done.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be an Edinburgh show now, wouldn't it? Yeah. Part of the festival.
He deserved 10 times worse than that for writing MacArthur Park.
Oh, yes. Cake left out in the rain.
Yeah, someone left the cake in the rain. Who cares?
My nan left the cake out in the rain. It would have absorbed all the rain. She made a very dry cake.
He didn't actually write, to be fair, to Richard Harris. It was written by Judy Webb, but he did sing it. And he's guilty of that. But this question isn't about Richard Harris. This is about Irishmen with no nipples. It seems bizarre, but there is a real historical point of interest here. What could an Irishman never be if he had no nipples?
Symmetric.
We're going back to the past. Symmetric. We're going back into the past in Ireland. It's a very peculiar thing, but part of your way of showing loyalty to your sovereign, if you were an Irish subject in the ancient days of the Irish kings, was you had to suck their nipples. Right? So, and you may say, well, OK, but what kind of person doesn't have nipples? There would be fights, contests, and people would apply, as it were, to be King of Ireland. And if they were found not suitable, they would have their nipples cut off, which meant they could never be King of Ireland.
Sorry, they did it like Britain's Got Talent.
Basically, yes.
This is how Britain's Got Talent should just tweak it so that it's the same.
It would be quite something. But there was Old Crochan Man, which was one of the peat bog discoveries, and he was so well preserved that when he was discovered, it wasn't archaeologists or museums or anthropologists who got in touch with it, it was the police. But in fact, it was from between 300-odd to 100-odd BC that this person had died.
So the chances of getting...
well preserved.
You would describe that as a cold case.
Yeah, you would.
The chance of getting a conviction...
But he was so well preserved, people said, oh, my God, you know, here's this recently killed body. But he was found with nipples pinched and cut off. So he appears to have been someone who basically was deprived ritually of his attribute of kingship before being killed. So there you are. That seems to be the case. But there are extra points if you can tell me the national colour of Ireland.
Well, this feels like a trap.
It does indeed.
That's the flag, but that's not necessarily an indication of what the national colour is.
National colour?
Blue is the right answer.
Get in.
Very good. Well done. Yeah. The fact is, of course, it's changed. Now everybody thinks it's green, and green is where one paints themselves green in Chicago and New York for St. Patrick's Day. But St. Patrick's colour was blue, and it was known as St. Patrick's blue. The coat of arms of Ireland, you may see, is a shield of a harp against a ground of St. Patrick's blue. And the Irish Guards are distinct because of the blue in their bearskins. So blue was always really the colour of Ireland until really... It was in 1798 when they had one of their many rebellions, and green then became a symbol of Irish nationalism and sort of took over from blue. Sucking a king's nipples was a gesture of submission in ancient Ireland, so if you lost yours, you couldn't be king. Now, you've got a big decision coming up in 40 minutes' time, imagine, OK? So, what's the best thing you can do now to ensure that you make the right choice?
Just make the decision now.
Now, it's coming up in 40 minutes' time. You may not know what it is, like Dwight.
You need to get yourself into a rage, because you make all the right choices when you're angry.
That's very well remembered from a previous edition. So one of them is anger. Anger, it's true, apparently you make better decisions when you're angry. I'm giving you a clue.
You give me a clue?
Have some water.
Yeah, have some water. Lots of water, lots and lots of water.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah, so that in 40 minutes' time...
You'll be in the loo and you won't have to make the decision.
Oh, no. Bizarrely, no. In 40 minutes, you'll be popping to go to the loo. And that's apparently when we make our best decisions.
When we need a wee.
Shut up.
Yes.
Shut up.
It's true, girlfriend.
Shut up.
Absolutely.
The last sort of big decision I made when busting for a piss was to pull over and take a piss by the side of the road.
That
seemed like the best decision I ever made, but it happened.
If you're given a serious decision to make, it seems that for some reason it somehow allows you to make clearer decisions.
Do you know why I think it is? I think it's probably right, but I think it's the conscious versus the unconscious mind. I think your unconscious mind is the smart bit, and the answers kind of bubble up when when you're trying to remember something.
Absolutely.
It's to not try and concentrate on that thing, to try and distract yourself, and sometimes it just bubbles up more organically.
Absolutely.
Whereas actually when you try and focus on, and actually when you need a pee, that's all you can think about is needing a pee.
I think
and
that's
then suddenly
right. Or the answer to the crossword clue pops into your head, exactly.
I'm going to try and nail the general ignorance.
Exactly.
I think I'm definitely going to do a celebrity mastermind now.
You should.
Just 20 bottles of Evian before I go on. Red! Orange! Hitler! I'm going to go, John!
Red, orange, Hitler. I'm trying to think what that would be. What is your specialist subject? Painting. Oh, love it.
Fair enough, good one. So, now, according to the father of history, who was Herodotus, the Greek historian...
Surely there hadn't been much history.
Of course.
It was surely back then, it was... I mean, when he's talking about it, it was, 2 weeks ago.
Has he got his hair woven into his beard?
It does. It does look all one piece, doesn't it?
Father of hair.
Yeah, that's the... But he wrote of the Persians that when they wanted to make a decision, they made a decision drunk and then reviewed it when sober. And if they both tallied, they thought it was right. Or they made a decision when sober and then reviewed it when drunk. And he said also, as if shocked, he said, to vomit or obey natural calls in the presence of another is forbidden among them. And it's like, gosh, Persians are really weird. They don't pee and poo in front of each other. I think that says more about Greeks, which Herodotus was. That he was surprised by that. Don't you think it's odd?
Does he mean that they go behind a tree, whereas the Greek would go in front of the tree?
Yeah, or in front of each other. That's the point.
The Romans used to all sit around chatting, didn't they?
Yes.
I've seen the toilets in Pompeii. They just used to sit there.
What?
Yep.
Next to each other.
Yeah, yeah. And why not? Well, all kinds of reasons.
We stare straight ahead. Straight ahead at the wall.
Whereas me, I mean, I'd go in with a ghetto blaster so people can't hear the noises, honestly. So
that reminds me of a wonderful story about Marilyn Monroe. Do you know this story? When Marilyn Monroe was engaged to Arthur Miller, the playwright, she was very nervous about meeting Arthur Miller's parents, who were Jewish intellectuals. And they went to their quite small house in New York. Arthur said, come and meet Mum and Dad. And they were having a dinner. And at one point she wanted to go up and use the loo. And she realised, when she was given directions to it, that it was above the dining room. And so to disguise the sound of herself peeing, she turned the taps on and then had a pee and then flushed the loo and turned the taps on, washed their hands, came down again. And the next day, Arthur Miller called up his father and said, so what did you think of Marilyn? His father said, nice girl, pisses like a horse. Wow! Now, what big decision did the driver of the number 78 London bus have to make in December 1952?
Turn right.
Oh, yes, Jimmy.
Its coronation is all I know about 52.
Ah, yes.
Well, the Queen didn't get the bus, did she?
No, she didn't. You might, if you were bus users, know where the 78 bus goes.
It's...
It doesn't go
Tower
around my way.
Bridge.
Not, so where?
Tower Bridge.
It does!
He had to jump the bridge.
Brilliant! He had to jump the bridge.
Just like...
Whoa! He was approaching it. There was some mistake with the warning sign, and as he was getting on the first... Do you know what they call each one of these? They're called bascules from the French for a seesaw. And as he was approaching the first one, he was already on it when he saw they were rising. And he took a split-second decision and accelerated. And the second one was lower down, and he three foot in the air, whatever it was, and then just landed on the second one. No one was injured. And he won for his bravery £10. But it was
and employee of the month.
And I'm sure employee of the month.
Driver of the week.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a very brave, very brave fellow. You'll want to know his name.
Bob Knievel.
It was a very good bus driver's name, Albert Gunton. Bertie Gunton.
Of course it was.
Bertie Gunton. And he should be proud. And if his family are watching, I hope you're still proud of him, and I'm sure you are.
What is that thing about split-second decisions, then?
I don't know. He just made
He
the right
needed
one.
a wee. He must have needed a wee.
Yes.
The car is kind of where that happens, of making a split decision and coming close to something and...
I know it's weird when that happens, isn't it? Of course, I mean, there are two answers to that. One is there may be something small you've seen that you just can't remember. And the other is you wouldn't be able to tell the story if you'd got it wrong and you'd been dead in a crash. So almost everybody who is alive by definition...
so all the anecdotes about I made a split-second decision and it went very badly.
Yes.
They're not here.
Naturally, not there to be told. There is that side of it.
Yeah.
But anyway...
Like the conductor who fell out the back.
Yes, exactly. The one thing we can say...
As he falls into the Thames. Gunton!
One thing we can say with confidence, Boris, is that wouldn't have happened with a bendy bus.
No, but the brilliant thing that would happen with the bendy bus, Stephen, is that it would go between the two things of the bridge, and then the bridge could play the accordion.
Never occurred to me. Never occurred to me. Now, if one or other of these identical twins committed a burglary and you had eyewitness reports, DNA and fingerprints, how could you get a conviction?
Turn left.
Yeah.
Waterboarding.
I may have to refine that then.
Turn right.
It's too...
It's even simpler than that. It's twins.
Yeah.
It's the evil one.
A, we have to be legal, so waterboarding's out. But they're identical, monozygotic twins. In other words, their DNA.
And what have we got? We've got DNA.
Yeah, you've got fingerprints, you've got eyewitness reports.
Are fingerprints the same in...
No, that's the point. Fingerprints are very, very, very similar, and you have to be a heck of an expert to be able to detect the difference. But in a court of law, you can demonstrate the
Stephen,
difference.
is this a real question, or did you forget to tape a CSI last week?
No, it's a real question. It's a real question. There have been, indeed very recently, here's a case, just January 2009, $6.8 million worth of jewellery was stolen from the Kaufhaus des Westens, which is one of the great department stores of the world, one of my favourites, in the Kurfürstendamm in Berlin. And they stole
Well, it was
this
German,
jewellery.
so nobody cared.
Yeah, well, $6.8 million worth, so there was a lot of insurance, and a pair of twins named Abbas and Hassan Umerat were amongst the three suspects and walked free despite there being DNA evidence of their presence in the scene, or one of their presences. That's the point. From the evidence we have, we can deduce that at least one of the brothers took part in the crime, but it has not been possible to determine which one. So you can't imprison both just because one of them did it. That's the point.
What happens with conjoined twins, then?
That has happened as well, because in the case of the original Siamese twins, one of them was rather a drunkard and committed an offence, but couldn't go to prison because it would mean imprisoning the other one. So they got away scot-free. Now, identity parades, fascinating things. As you know, you are a suspect, and the police are supposed to get people who look vaguely like you, all wear the same clothes, line them up, and an eyewitness says it was number 3 or whatever. Anyway, nowadays they use something called VIPER. Do you know about that?
VIPER?
VIPER, it stands for Video Identification Parade Electronic Recording. Because, as recently as 1997, South Yorkshire police had a suspect who was 6'3", 16 stone, and black. And they couldn't find anyone of a similar description, so they got a makeup artist to black up a group of white men, not including their hands. And unsurprisingly, the eyewitness chose the genuinely black person. Well, these days they have all kinds of identity parades, but the old type that we're familiar with is nowadays not regarded as reliable. And there are reasons for that. And we might even be able to demonstrate what those reasons are, because earlier in the show, you may remember, a rascal ran across the set and stole some money straight from my hand. You all saw it happen.
You apprehended him.
Can you pick the culprit from this lineup? We've apprehended him, and we've got some others to see if you can find out who it is. OK, here they are, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So, was it number 1, stealing our money? Was it number 2, stealing our hearts, or is that just me? Or was it number 3? Was it number 3, stealing himself for a spanking? Or was it number 4, stealing a format idea from Nevermind the Buzzcocks? Very... Very good control from our ID parade here. So, I'm going to ask each one of you to give me a number as to which you think it was. You all saw the moment, or at least very briefly, which is how crimes are committed. Phil, you're going to give me a number, 1, 2, 3 or 4?
This isn't fair. Phil's had much more experience in this
That's
game.
true, yeah.
Phil's built a career on this game.
Yeah, he knows which one is in the kooks.
I think... I think number 2 is...
stick a bass player in there for me. So it was fleeting, wasn't it?
It was fleeting.
2.
Number 2? Alan,
I'm going 1.
1, 2 and 1?
2.
2?
It's number 1.
Number 1. OK, so we're split between 2 and 1. Those of you in the audience who think it's number 1, raise your hand. That's quite a fair number. Those of you who think it's number 2...
You probably had a better view, actually, didn't you?
Oh, that's quite a lot, too. You did all have a better view. Those who think it's number 3? Few of you think it's number 3. And those of you who think it's number 4? Again, a few of you. With the real thief, please step forward.
Wait a minute.
There you are. Yeah! Number 2. Well done. Well done. Very good. Very good indeed. So thank you all for our lineup, including the 3 innocents.
Can I just... I got that wrong. I said number 1 and it was actually number 2. But when I saw number 1, I instantly thought that guy has done something very, very bad. And I think it will, you know, a couple of months' time, the news will land. He's done a terrible, terrible thing. And I'll
That,
be proven right.
unfortunately, is the kind of way people go. They say, oh, I don't like his face, or I do like his face. But I have to say, I'm very impressed by the audience, because, as you probably all know, we've all heard of tests in which this kind of thing happens at, you know, sort of, if you're doing forensics or criminology, this happens in lectures and so on.
I was sitting in a cafe, and I saw some kids stealing a scooter with some bolt cutters.
Yeah.
And they sped off with it, and then a few minutes later the police arrived, and I went over the road and I said, I saw the kids who did this.
Yeah.
And the copper said, what colour was the scooter, sir? And I said, it was gold, kind of metallic gold. And the owner was there, and he went, it was silver.
So suddenly you weren't very trusted.
No. And then about 10 minutes later, the kids came past. And I followed them round the corner onto Highbury Fields, keeping my distance.
Yes.
And I phoned this into the police station. I said, they're here, I'm following them now. They're walking along. No one came.
It's because you were doing a silly voice. Do it in your own voice next time.
Well, that was very interesting. It shows it isn't entirely useless having an ID parade. You have to say you did very well. I'm surprised.
It is on a pop
I got it
quiz.
right.
You got it right?
You know how I got it right?
Yep, how?
I wet my pants.
That's it! Exactly! You're learning. All right. It is more difficult than we think or realise to pick a suspect from an identity parade, although our audience and half our panel did very well. And now to the moment when I'm afraid you have no choice at all. It's general ignorance, so fingers on buzzers, please. And remember, we haven't had our nobody knows question yet. Oh. Who was the first person to go round the world in 80 days?
Turn right.
Yeah.
Michael Palin.
It's a real person. I'm not counting fictional. In the fiction, of course, it's...
Phileas Fogg,
It was Phileas Fogg, yeah.
Blue whale.
First person was very much in the question. But it's interesting I said first person, because in fact it was a woman.
Amy Johnson?
It was, say that, shout that again in the audience. Well done, audience member. Nellie Bly is the right of... Yes. Very impressed indeed. And I think Nellie Bly is someone we all should have heard of, because she's a very remarkable woman. She was possibly the world's first investigative journalist. She was a remarkably bold, brave and adventurous woman. Oh. She worked for The World, which was Joseph Pulitzer's newspaper. In 1890, after the astonishing success of Jules Verne's novel Round the World in 80 Days, Joseph Pulitzer decided that he would try and get someone genuinely to go round the world in 80 days, which hadn't been done yet. And he awarded the role to one of his journalists. And Nellie Bly said, basically, if you don't give me the task, I will leave the world and go to another newspaper. And so valued was she that he said, well, OK, you've got the job. And she did it in 72 days, which is pretty damned impressive. In those days, in the 1890s, before aeroplanes, obviously, getting from one place all the way around the globe to another in that amount of time was a heck of an achievement.
It took a bloody long time to get from Scotland to London in those days.
Well, quite, exactly. Can you remember in the book the sorts of forms of travel Phineas Fogg used?
There were some trains going on, weren't there?
Trains, yes.
There was
hot
some
air
steamers.
balloons.
Yes.
Not hot air balloons. That's the bizarre thing.
Just had a balloon on the
I
screen.
know, because of the film. In the film, the Michael Todd film, with David Niven, one always thinks of the balloon, but in fact, in the book, he doesn't use a balloon. Anyway, she did it in 72 days, 6 hours and 11 minutes, from New York to New York. Grand parade. But maybe she should be better remembered for her campaigns against bad landlords, injustice to women in prisons, and most amazingly, she also managed to smuggle herself into an insane asylum and wrote an extraordinary report about the unbelievable cruelty that was dealt to the mentally ill in New York.
Well, I think that's a more extraordinary story than you know. It sounds to me like she managed to talk her way out of an insane asylum.
Well, right.
With a story about being an investigative journalist.
Well, you're absolutely right. In both cases, it was impressive. Now, how can you tell which of these chicks is male and which is female?
Oh, this must be. This must be.
Oh, I'm afraid not. No. Had you said that in the 1920s, the answer would have been nobody knows. But in 1929, the Japanese astonished the world by revealing that they found a way to sex chicks, as you say, in other words, to determine their gender. It sounds so wrong, doesn't it? I know how to sex a chick. Yeah,
I can do it.
It seems impossible with the naked eye to do it because the day-old chick, you have to wait till they're 6 weeks old. In the past, you used to have to. And in the egg-laying industry, that's a heck of a waste because I'm afraid to say that the male chicks are of no use whatsoever to the egg-laying industry.
Gassed on the first day. Enjoy your eggs.
That's why. Yeah, right. 1927, at the World Poultry Congress in Ottawa, this was announced.
The what?
At the World Poultry Congress.
That's a lot of chickens.
Would the representative of Albania make himself known? Albanian chicken!
I know it sounds bad, but of course it's one of the biggest businesses in the world. And the most populous number of birds, we eat them, we eat their eggs, and so there are World Poultry Conferences.
Listen, you know what? We've all done corporate gigs. I imagine I did it. I imagine I did 20 minutes at the end.
I once did Philips Small Appliances. Sounds bad.
Poor boy.
Yeah. It was a long time. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
Which is why I won't have him in the house anymore.
So how do you tell the sex? How do you sex a chicken?
Well, it's very complex. That's the point, and it's highly. No, we do know it's highly paid, and the discovery lowered the price of eggs worldwide overnight. That's how important it was. And the Zen Nippon Chick Sexing School was founded. I know you're laughing. No, it's true.
You're looking at a graduate.
And they taught their sexers in such a rigorous way that only 5 to 10% of applicants received accreditation. But when you passed, you were paid huge sums of money.
You're a chick master.
Yeah, hundreds of dollars a day. It was a really big business. And it still is. It still is.
How do you know? I know. You don't know.
There was one hatch. The best in the business can sex around 1,200 chicks an hour, and there are some incredibly talented ones who can have one in each hand. And can do...
Boy,
The point is you pick them up and you just go like that, pop them in bins. Girl bin, boy bin, girl bin, boy bin. And you can do 1,200.
So something to do with the weight?
No, it's not. They do a slight squeeze. They do a slight... You won't like this. They do a slight squeeze.
And if they go, ow! You go.
That's naughty.
If they go, steady on, boy. It's a boy.
They have a cloacal tract, which is their reproductive and their excretory tract. And there is a slight difference in the ridges and bumps, sort of innies and outies that they have. So you do a slight squeeze. If it's too big, you throttle them, or the outie becomes an innie. So it's a real skill. This is something I vaguely knew about growing up in Norfolk, because in Norfolk there is a community of Vietnamese turkey sexers who knew... I know it sounds mad.
I can never watch Platoon again! You've ruined Apocalypse Now for me.
I'm sorry about
What sexy chicken? You tell me now!
This. I know it sounds...
They live in tunnels under the fence.
This is not in the fens, it's in Norfolk, he said. Defensively, the fens are going
So tell me they work for Bernard, please.
Well, of course, yeah, the Bernard Matthews is the largest employer for...
Mr. Matthew, this one beautiful.
All right, chicken sexing is a fine art these days. Now, the sun rises roughly in the east, as we know, and sets in the west, but what does the moon do? Where does it rise and what direction does the moon...
Which moon are we talking about, Stephen?
This show is getting tough.
Wow! Goes the other way on.
The opposite direction?
Yeah.
Well, actually... Sorry to say, that isn't true either. Oh, no, it's the same.
It's the same.
Also,
it's the same.
rises in the...
Are you sure?
The same.
Correctly correct, Ingrid. Well done. Yeah, the moon rises in the east and sets in the west like the sun. And lastly, how many different species of mussel can you see here?
Is this it?
Oh,
Is this the question?
Oh,
There you go.
yeah, Jimmy got there first.
Finally.
Nobody knows.
I just
it's the
found it
right
quicker than
answer.
Phil. I
Had
think
to
both
be
of you.
the last one of this show.
Well done, you're absolutely right.
It's the last one we have.
Yeah, the fact is, it's almost impossible to identify
Even
species.
Belgos themselves.
Yes.
Impossible to do or impossible to care?
Well...
Do you think they just go with mussels? Should we just boil these and eat them? Because they are delicious and times are wasted.
We used to think by size and appearance you could tell which species was which. We now find it seems it's only the genome that tells us. Species we thought were completely different, we've discovered are the same. And conversely, species we thought were the same turned out to be different.
So which nation are secretly training their citizens to be able to tell what species it is? The Albanians have muscle ninjas.
It's almost certainly the Albanians, you're right. But the time has finally come to act decisively and declare tonight's winner. It's very exciting looking here. Yes, indeed. Let's, let's start at the top with a fantastic result. Our winner with a clear plus 10 points is Phil Jupitus. In a rather surprising second place, with 4 points, it's the audience! Congratulations! Very impressive. That puts Jimmy, who would otherwise have come second, in third place with -1. And in fourth place with -2, Rich Hall. But still doesn't stop Alan from coming last, I fear, with -14. So it's thanks to Rich, Jimmy, Phil and Alan, and I leave you with this tale of choice in Soviet Russia from comedian Yakov Smirnov. In Russia, we had only 2 channels. Channel 1 was propaganda. Channel 2 consisted of a KGB officer telling you, turn back at once to Channel 1. Thank you and good night.
Next, film drama as Sir David Frost persuades disgraced US President Richard Nixon into opening up on camera. Michael Sheen and Frank Langella in Frost Nixon.